of when it comes to your team and your and also your attitude with everybody around you? What is the importance of your consistency with your work ethic and your consistency with personally developing and making yourself better? What are some things that you think about, or why is that important?
Well, hey, buddy, first of all, good morning. Good morning. I like your shirt. Good to see everybody. Can y'all hear me good? Are we clear? Awesome. Well, hey, the first thing I do want to say on top of this training is congratulations to all of y'all, the Alexandria group, the whole thing that y'all are doing. Obviously, Mike's leadership, I believe, is at an all-time high. He's making a big run for NSD. It's going to be a great thing to see all y'all and collaborate together and do that. Good to see Danielle on here this morning with those sunglasses. Anytime Danielle's on with sunglasses, you know it's going to be a great Saturday. So anyways, but the consistency is so important. Number one, see, I think the team has to see you lead from the front in order for them to really follow in the manner that you want them to follow. See, if you as a leader are inconsistent, a lot of times the team will be even more inconsistent when they see you up and down, when they see you not produce, when they see you not at the office, they see you not on Zooms, not with your cameras on, then they tend to do that, if not worse. It's kind of like a child, right? I was doing something this morning, and thank God I was doing things the right way. And I was, I forgot specifically what it was, but Bentley was basically emulating what I was doing. And then Lexi starts emulating what I'm doing. Well, think about that. That's kids emulate what parents do. Same thing in this business. You have a bunch of young, technically kids when it comes to business, learning to follow their leader or learning to follow, somebody they look up to. And so I think the first thing we got to understand is that don't take that for granted from the beginning, that people immediately are already looking up to you and looking for you for advice. And they're looking for you to help them get out of their current situation. People don't think that way. The mentality is the most important, Mike. That's kind of what you were asking. If you have that mentality of understanding that even from the lead, right, even from the beginning, right? If I'm a David and Keisha, and I got one licensed agent, or I got 20 licensed agents, they are following in your footsteps. And so if you teach them the wrong things, and if you show inconsistency, then you're just going to have an inconsistent business. And people ask that all the time. People are like, well, how did you and Mike do this so well together as best friends, but as business partners? Is that me and Mike are probably two of the most consistent people that you're going to find. We don't really deviate from our personalities. We don't deviate from our work schedule. We're consistently on. We're consistently doing training. You can trust us. We have integrity, and that's why we've developed a great organization together, right? And other organizations have not done that in Louisiana and throughout the country, because they have not developed that consistency. So when you see a leader in Mike or myself that is always producing, always wanting to train, always wanting to be on and lead, then therefore you are going to have people that follow in that same manner. But I do believe, again, on a week in and week out basis. Last thing I'll tell you with this, Mike, and I hope this is answering your question, is that you got to also make sure that you are hitting your personal goals on a weekly basis, meaning that, if your goal this month, let's say Jay McKinney's goal is to do 8,000 in personal premium this month, excuse me, hence make $5,000 this month. Well, if on a week in and week out basis, if he's not hitting $2,000 in personal premium and $1,000 to $1,200 in income, then he better step it up the next week, right? There cannot be a lack of consistency when it comes to a 2-week period of time, right? I'll give you, right? Y'all probably remember this. Danielle probably remembers this all the time. I'll give you a week. I'll give you 2 or 3 days, actually. It's no problem. If you're inconsistent for 2 or 3 days, you don't light the scoreboard up for 2 or 3 days, I get it. You might have had a bad day. You might have had a couple of people reschedule, but you should never go 4 or 5 days, much less, in my opinion, for our bigger leaders, 72 hours, without putting something on the scoreboard, without putting something on Telegram of something that you did personally, right? Because your team sees that. I see that. Mike sees that. When I start seeing leaders and RVPs and they're not posting anything that they personally did for a week at a time, that just shows me they're inconsistent and they're not working, right? And so I think that is something that's very important, that you understand what the goals are, but you break those down weekly, and weekly goals and weekly things you're trying to attain creates more consistency, in my opinion. So, Mike, I hope that helped answer your question. I don't know if there was anything else on that you wanted me to hit on.
No, that's perfect. And I say this all the time, and it's one of the things that I've learned in my career, especially after going full-time and studying big leaders. you need to have people around you in your circle that hold you accountable simply because they exist. And what I mean by that is, obviously, you're one of those people to me. My wife is one of those people. And what I mean by that is, when I was going, full time and building my business, like a lot of these superstars are right now, like Jay, Clinton, Moses, Daryl, Danielle's back in there recruiting, David and Keisha, obviously. When you're building this business, you got to understand that there's going to be some blows, right? There's going to be some setbacks. There's going to be some, things that happen that aren't always pleasant, right? But I remember whenever those things would happen with me, I could look at you driving back from Lake Charles at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, or the work ethic that you would show, even though you maybe didn't have to, because of the amount of money that you were making. And that is what I mean. Being able to use that example will take you so much further whenever you're maybe in a rut. And you've always provided that example, which has made me better in your entire organization. That's why you're going to have the biggest by far in Louisiana very soon, right? So having that said, last question, because I know you're over there and I want you to get back to your family. I'm watching you right now. Obviously, you went a senior national sales director, just took over a huge group of people. You promoted some people. Whenever you do that, sometimes you got to get your base shop back going and you got to regroup. And, and you're one of the best I've ever seen at that, getting it back going when you need to. And the other day I called you. I was headed to Lake Charles, which is about an hour and 45 minutes from me. You were driving to Lafayette and then Slidell, okay, in the same day, which around trip probably 4 or 5 hours. So having that said, my question to you, now that why are you doing that, right? I know that you want to build your base shop, and what are you doing right now? What are you committing to right now to get your base shop to where it needs to be? What are some of those key things, 2 or 3 or 4 things that somebody should be doing if they want to get the base shop where it needs to be?
Yeah, a couple of things about it. I appreciate that. I'll have a follow-up question with you and with that. But I think the number one is that, we've always had a big base shop. We've always had a good base shop, and the base shop drives everything. Like especially kind of what right now, what's going on. Me and Mike's been talking about this over and over. And I mentioned this to some of our other leaders, like this is the time for us to become $1 million hierarchy. And I say $1 million hierarchy, not to say that me and Lynn's, we'll get the ruby ring. Y'all know I've never talked about that, right? I've never said this is the time for me to make $1 million a year. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about for us to be $1 million hierarchy. Now, and then what happens from that is that Mike becomes a national sales director making $750, and Danielle, makes 150, 200,000. David and Keisha, they make 150, 200,000, right? And we get everybody playing into this role of going to bigger and better places. Does that make sense? I see it clear as day. I've always thought that we could be $1 million hierarchy. Now it's just right there for the taking. We just got to do the right thing. So Mike, to answer your question first, is that I know in order for us to do that, I have to have a $40,000 or $50,000 base shop. I have to rebuild my base shop. I have to develop people internally within my base shop. I have some superstars on this Zoom with that, but there's no way that the goals that I want to accomplish here moving forward, I'm going to be able to obtain if I don't really get my base shop back moving after promoting the RVPs that I did. And also on top of that, I went back to thinking, like me and you talked about, Mike, when am I the happiest? When am I the most energized? That is when I'm working with people in my base shop and I see people emerging, I see people growing, and I see people that can potentially be RVPs. That's when I get the most thrill. And even though we achieved some goals, I've never been, and Mike can tell, I've never been as excited about our business and where it's going than I am right now. And a lot of it's because of what y'all are doing. A lot of it's because of, we do have a new hierarchy involved in our group, but we also have Mike, who's going for big goals, which means the whole Alexandria group are going for great things. And when you have a bunch of people just together, like-minded, going for great things, then good things are going to happen, Mike. So I just have big things that I want to accomplish. And I know, again, that if I can, again, go out over there and build new agents, build new leaders, doesn't matter if I'm driving a slide. It was a lot of fun, Mike. I haven't done that in a while, right? You think we talked about that as well. A lot of you guys, same thing with me, you got caught up in the Zoom world, okay? And I get it. I'm still in the Zoom world. We're on Zoom right now. But I can't tell you how much I did enjoy going back out, training some people, getting on kitchen tables, meeting people face-to-face, picking up investment stuff, because that's what we used to do. That's how we built it the biggest. And sometimes people get away because they either make money or they get comfortable. They get away doing the things that they enjoyed the most when they were the most successful. Okay. And I'll repeat that again, because I think a lot of people got to think of that. A lot of times because you get comfortable, or again, you make too much money, or because of circumstances, you get away from doing the things you used to do that was fun. that got you to the level of success that you were at your peak. Okay. And then you get away. So where was your peak? You go back to that. And I was thinking about that, Mike. What was I doing when my base shop was running 80 and 90, 100,000? And that was it, you know, and I was looking for new people. I wanted to train new people. I was so excited about getting them off to a fast start, right? Same thing what we did. We would go into houses. We would get referrals. We would pick this up. We would ask who do they know that we can help out as well. We'd get 5 or 10 referrals like we did the other night at this kitchen table. And now we got a bunch of people to see next week. And people think, man, I don't have any activity next week. What I'm going to do? Well, if you're good, just like a lot of you guys are, you can go see one person and that can generate into 10 or 15 clients. There's nobody better than Mike Heyward at that. So if you want to know how to do that, right? Also, last thing I'll tell you too, if you have a bunch of activity, okay, Mike, and we've always done this, if you have a bunch of activity with no results, then you need to really reanalyze what you're doing, okay? People will say, I had somebody call me and like, but one of my guys in my base shop called me, Mike, and was like, hey, I was on 6 appointments last week. I closed nothing. I was like, okay, well, and he was excited about his activity. I was like, okay, well, let's really analyze that. Okay, were you at a bad market, or are you just now bad at this? Are you bad at your presentation? Okay, because we want people to close. You got to be a closer. Some of you guys are so good at this business. We can't be wasting time on these appointments and doing things on activity and not close for your family. Okay, because at some point in time, right or wrong, Mike, you can tell Mallory all you want that you were on appointments, but unless getting those do not replies and there's not money hitting those accounts, then those appointments were irrelevant. Okay. And so again, we got to make sure that the things that we're doing and the activity that we're creating are generating results week in and week out, and they're generating income week in and week out. And that's how you compound this business into growing the wealth and growing the income and growing the things. And so, and Mike, I see you doing that as well too. So I want to feed one right back to you, bud, because you're doing the exact same team. Your team is spiked more than I've seen it. I see the energy growth yesterday. The last week was huge. What was the mentality shift for you? Because I think a lot of times it starts for the mentality shift. Then after what it does is you have a mentality shift of what you're going to do. Then you have an activity shift of what you're going to do. And you've clearly done both of those. Can you hit on those for me, bud?
Yeah, I think it starts with, first off, and I appreciate you saying that, and it's understanding that what you said a second ago, the Zoom world has created laziness, in my opinion, and I'm going to start with myself. It's created laziness, complacency, and I had to realize that very, very quickly. And also what I realized is looking at everything you just talked about with how talented of a group that we are, with the goals that we have, $1 million hierarchy, getting up to 750, getting NSD, all those different things, getting Clinton to vice president, getting David and Keisha to 100,000, all the different people, getting Danielle back. Those things are going to require me to be at my best. Okay. That's what I know. I know that if I'm going to ask those people to go for it and to go for their goals and dreams, I have to be providing an example that they can follow. And I don't know that doing everything on Zoom is that example, to be honest with you, Blake. With Zoom, we can sit on our couch, we can sit out there by the pool, do $100,000 investment, and then get back in the pool and have a beer. That's just too easy, right? That's not how you build a business. Now, I do believe that Zoom has made everything a lot easier. And when it comes to these trainings we're doing, maybe just meeting with a client, maybe even doing a fast start planner. But when it comes to building a business, you just can't do it, in my opinion. So my point is, answering your question, I realized that really, really quickly. I didn't just kind of say, all right, well, I'm going to do a mixture of this and that. No, I'm going to go back to what you and I did with Danielle in the very, very beginning, when we went from no office to 100 people in a 600 square foot office. And that is going to be, that's going to be out there and about in the field, right? And understanding that, whenever I went and did that appointment in Lake Charles, I drove an hour and 40 minutes. Okay. I met with a guy. Now, here's the point. If I'm going to ask Jay McKinney and David.
You muted, Coach.
Not all of it's going to be totally pleasant. Okay. But if you think about it, what I did there is I drive to Lake Charles. I probably made 25 phone calls. I talked to all of our leaders. I went in there and had lunch with Caleb and his potential client. We got to know each other, got to meet his wife, got to give him some compliments on things that they had in their house. Just being comfortable getting around the recruit and getting around the client, that is building the business, right? And understanding, okay, if I'm out here doing it, if Jay McKinney comes to me and says, Coach, what did you do today? I can be proud of telling him that I went for it. All right. I got around my people. I made the phone calls. I communicated. I closed business, right? And I can also go home and say, Mama, I closed business, right? I went to work. I didn't just sit around all day and play on Zoom. I got out there and got around my people. And I think that understanding that that's what it's going to take is the key, right? Understanding that's what is vital to our success. Now, I'm not sitting here saying don't use Zoom. I'm not saying that. I think it's an extremely valuable tool. But also, Blake, it goes back to being a competitor, right? I mean, I haven't been in the Fab Five in a while, and I know that I'm better than that, and I know my team, my God, is better than that. So ultimately, it's just saying, we're gonna start playing at the level that we need to play at, and the only way I know how to do it is develop strong relationships. I mean, think about it. When you and I were building our business, Zoom, I would have never been in this business. Why? Because I wouldn't have got to ask you the questions I got to ask you. I would not have got a little bit of the taste of the lifestyle that you have. We wouldn't have been able to take Bill's credit card and go buy fish, right? That was selling the dream. I mean, we make jokes about that stuff all the time, but that right there was selling the dream. And I think that, for me, when you say, how are you getting it back going? It's creating a ton of activity. You just said it. If you want to create an explosion, first off, you be the one to do it. Secondly, you need to get on a bunch of appointments. And if you're doing appointments and you're not getting any results like you just said, you're doing something right, okay? But there's something that you need to improve. Why aren't you closing? What is the deal here? Or if you're one of the best closers, then you just don't have any activity, but it's figuring those things out and ultimately being the catalyst, taking pride in the explosions. When you do that, if people are going to follow. I mean, you look at it yesterday, I had no idea we were going to close 6 or 7 policies in my base shop, but I knew I was going to close 2. And I know I've been working hard. I know I've been doing more communicating and more creating. And as a result, we had a huge day, both in the base shop and in the Alexandria office. So I hope that kind of helped, Blake. I know it wasn't anything that we've never talked about. It's just being extremely urgent with the things that got us to where we are today.
Yes, about that, Mike. I couldn't agree more. And also just knowing that you are the creator of the business that can grow, like understanding that with all of you guys, you are the ones that can create such growth. I think a lot of you right now with where we're headed and what we're doing these next 90 days, we should all just have an incredible amount of and optimism of where your business is going. And I encourage you to do that on this Saturday, because a lot of times you might not. You might have been coming in last night or today. Now, a lot of y'all had a great last week and your businesses are thriving, but you understand it only takes one. It only takes, one more, the book by Ed Milet, the power of one more. You never know what one more call or one more appointment or one more handshake or one more, anything might mean to your business. If you have that mentality. And I remember reading and listening to that book and talking about, we got to, on a daily basis, make sure we're doing one more than we used to do. And that will all add up, right? Y'all have heard me say this before, but a little bit more one day is really irrelevant, but a little bit more every day becomes substantial. Okay. A little bit more that you do every day, it becomes substantial in your business. If you just do it once, it's really irrelevant. If you do it every day, it becomes substantial. You really grow this thing, right? And I think that's where a lot of you stand right now. And again, I just want to tell y'all again, very proud. We appreciate all of you guys and your leadership and what you mean to this organization, because right now is where we're taking this thing to a level that nobody's seen it before. A lot of you right now are going to be part of the growth of the biggest organization and one of the biggest organizations that the company's ever seen. Okay. The biggest organization that has ever been done in Louisiana. There's never been $1 million hierarchy in Louisiana besides, my dad's, and his is all over. We're about to create that, but we got to have a lot of people step up and play a part of that. It's never going to happen unless we have the leaders stepping up like that. And obviously in the meanwhile of that, our biggest focus is to get Mike to NSD. But how are we going to have that happen? We're going to have Clinton get promoted, right? We're going to have Jana get there. We're going to have a lot of people growing their income. So everybody is going to benefit and play a part in the massive growth of this organization. And that's where we're heading. So I just wanted to tell you all that. Y'all are all doing a tremendous job. But just remember, every day make things happen, knowing that today and tomorrow, this weekend, this Saturday, this Sunday could be the day that you meet your next superstar. And I'll leave you with this. Remember that if you find one, it can help you get to RVP. But you find two, it helps you get to RVP and 100,000 in income. That's all it is. Like David and Keisha right now, they got some stars. I see Miss Irma on here. Hey, Miss Irma. Right. I see Vito. We got some superstars. But what it does is it only took one superstar for David and Keisha to go RVP. but it's only going to take one more superstar. The question is, who's that going to be in that base shop to get David and Keisha to 100,000 in income? Okay. Danielle Bennett, same thing. It took one superstar to get Danielle and Jeff to RVP, and they found that. If they find one more, they're at 100,000 like that. Just always have that mentality and understand that you don't have to have an army to create a life that you really want for your family and freedom. It only takes really two. And so let's make sure we're going out there. We're having that mindset. Let's go find those people. Let's create that consistency. And so, Mike, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted me to cover, bud, but thanks for having me on. This is awesome. And I love seeing y'all's faces this morning.
No, man, appreciate you so much. I know you have things going on and plans. Go have a great time. We can't wait to see you Monday back in here. And one thing, guys, before we turn it over back, because I got some questions for David and Keisha. Blake just mentioned consistency, and obviously he's been one of the most consistent that I've ever been able to work with, but also understanding maybe, there's a lot of people that are having a tremendous amount of success this month, right? There's also people that are absolute superstars that maybe are not having the same amount of success. And to that, I would say that's the importance of consistency. Okay. I know, you look at Jay McKinney, I'm going to use him as an example because he's one of the strongest, most consistent producers that I have ever worked with. But also to that point, Jay had a couple situations with recruiting because Jay's getting his recruiting going. I told Jay, I said, once you start double-digit recruiting, you're going to be in the 20 to 25,000 in premium per month. Well, Jay started recruiting a little bit. Jay started talking to more people. He's always written business, but he started talking to more people, had some people commit to doing the business. Well, guess what? They didn't end up doing the business, okay? They did not do what they said they were going to do. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. And that's where Jay has to understand, okay, that's just part of the business. But if Jay stays consistent, which he's going to do, that's not going to continue, right? Somebody who maybe does a job of recruiting, but maybe they aren't as much business through that recruiting, right? David Hamilton's one of the strongest recruiters I've ever seen, ever met. Right now, David is doing a brand new group of people in. He's just got to find a couple of superstars that are consistent. Right? A lot of people doing a little bit. But to that point, I'll say if you're consistently making phone calls and not getting any results, go to your upline. There's an issue that can be fixed. Or you're maybe writing some business, but you're not getting any recruits. Go to your upline. Maybe you're getting a bunch of recruits, but you're not getting any business through that, okay? You should never be in a situation long-term, and when I say long-term, over a month, where your recruiting is real heavy, but there's no business coming from, okay? There's a fundamental issue there. Now, the good news is all these fundamental issues that we talk about are very easy to fix if you're consistent and you're aware of them, right? Out of sight, out of mind is not going to work when it comes to these fundamentals. So what I want to do right now, I've asked David and Keisha have obviously been some of our strongest leaders in our organization. I've watched the growth of David. It's been tremendous. And now I'm seeing him lead an organization. So, David, I want to ask you a couple of questions real quick. The first question is, when it comes to when you recruit somebody and it comes to the training process, how important is it, number one, to get in front of people quickly? And number two, how important is it to see everybody that you know? And when I say everybody that you know, I'm talking about people that would come to your wedding. How important is it to see people that would help you change a flat tire, or that would maybe, come to your birthday party? How important is it to see every single one of those people, even though they may not become clients or they may not become recruits?
Awesome. Appreciate it. Coach, can y'all hear me? Am I coming in clear? Cool. So the reason why it's so important is because it is. If I'm sitting down, let's just hypothetically say I'm sitting down with Jay. And, we have something called the first 48. You ever see the first 48? We kind of look at that. That's the vital point in this business that can determine your success, right? So if I recruit Jay, but I don't get Jay into the field fast, Jay cannot be convicted and be bit by this business, right? There's a lot of things that's going to set in. And I got this from my dude, TC. There's a lot of things, and it's called buyer's remorse in the sales, in the retail business, right? Well, guess what? If I recruit Jay, and I don't wait till I get on orientation, or I wait till 3 or 4 days to take Jay in the field, and I'm asking Jay, when is it a good time that we can meet up? That's a problem, right? So I utilize Zoom and face-to-face, right? So if I recruit Jay, immediately I got Jay in orientation that evening, right? This is the reason why. Jay need to know what this business is about. So what I do, I immediately send Jay a video with Jeff Seagrave on the orientation of the business. I say, Jay, I want you to watch this because this is what our orientation is going to be about. So when we hop on that orientation this evening, Jay already knows I have to build a business. Now, when I recruited Jay, I asked Jay, I said, Jay, how much money do you need to make this worth your time, right? That's what I asked Jay. Why? Because I want Jay to put that into perspective when he tells me $5,000 a month. All right, Jay, do you have $5,000 a month work ethic? Because I'm going to show you exactly what we need to do in order to make $5,000 a month. But if Jay, like a young man told me yesterday, I need to make 500 to 1,000, I'm like, great, then this is what we're going to do, right? Why? Because when we get on that orientation, I'm not going to have this man going on here talking about RVP and stuff like that if he want to make 500 to 1,000 and don't want to leave his job. I'm going to talk to him directly where he's at. So guess what? I'm going to ask him for a 25-name wedding list, right? Who would you bring to your wedding? Who would you invite to your wedding? Who's your best man? Who's going to be the caterer? Who's going to be the wedding coordinator, right? Who's going to be the bridegroom, right? Who's going to be the best man, right? That's who I really want to sit with, right? And then when I sit with them, guess what's going to happen? Now Jay going to get more bit in this business. Why? Because he's getting trained, number one. He understands he has to build the business, number two. That's coming from the orientation. And number three, guess what's going to happen? He's going to see exactly what he needs to do because when we get him a recruit, guess what's going to happen? He's going to lead that recruit the same way I led him. But if I don't do that with Jay, guess what's going to happen? Jay ain't going to do that with his new recruit, right? What I do with Jay, I always tell Jay, I'm using this for an example. If Jay is my new recruit, I'm going to say, Jay, what I do with you, I want you to do with your new recruit. That's how we train, duplication and multiplication. Go ahead, coach.
Okay, so we're going to role play real quick because that's very good, and I want people to understand about it. Okay, so let's just say, for an example, that I'm Jay's best friend, okay? I'm Jay's best friend. We go to Saints games together. We hug each other. We cry together. I mean, we're pals, right? That's how we are. We have lunch once a week. I mean, I'm coming over to change a flat anytime Jay needs it, even when it's raining, okay? Right. Now, we've identified me as being Jay's best friend in this world. Jay said Mike is somebody that I'd call if I ever needed anything. And you, as the leader, what are you going to – and Jay's giving you a little bit of kickback because I got everything in order. I got all my finances in order. I've known Dave Ramsey personally. I know I'm got it all going on.
Right.
But Jay is giving you a little bit of kickback. Jay's giving you a little bit of kickback. Now, here's the deal, guys. It's making a little bit of a joke, but here's what we got to understand. David is the expert. David's had success in Primerica, and David is willing to spend his time training Jay, okay? Now, Jay, in this case, is giving a little bit kickback. Jay does not know what he is doing. He does not know what David knows, okay? But it's human nature sometimes from some people, especially people that are hard-headed, to kind of think they know it all, like myself, right? To kind of assume they know what they're doing. So Jay's going to kind of give a little bit of kickback here, and he's like, man, I think Mike's got it all figured out. How would you handle that, David? I'm his best friend. Jay ain't been on one appointment.
Gotcha. Great. That's great that you had Jay. That's great that Mike has it all figured out. But look, since he has it figured out, we need to go see him with all of his figuring. We need to go see him for help with your training. That's great that he has it figured out.
Figuring. Okay.
Say that? All his figuring, right? So since he has it figured out, Jay, we just need to go see Mike for your training. And Jay, if Jay tells me, well, I don't know, I say, look, let me get the number. Let me set the appointment, right? Because it's your best man. If your best man die tomorrow and you realize he don't have it figured out, then it's going to be on your conscience. And we don't need that, right? So we need to go see him for help with your training. We don't want him to buy nothing. We ain't trying to recruit him. We just want to go over there and give him a second opinion and get help with your training. So we need to call him up, right? You care about him, right? Great. We need to go see him. You'll miss him if he die, right? You'll miss him if he die, right? You go to the funeral, then let's go see him.
Now, that is definitely true, okay? Now, that doesn't mean that Jay is going to just change his mind, but that's David's job as the professor. Here's another thing too, guys, and I'm not saying that this isn't say in any arrogant way or anything like that. If I'm spending my time training Jay, okay, let's take situation reversed. David is Jay's best friend. They've known each other for a long time, went to school together. And I'm telling Jay, say, listen, I need to see your favorite person in this world other than your wife. I've already seen your wife. Now we got to see your next best friend. That's David, okay? If Jay gives me kickback, I'm going to say, Jay, listen, I totally understand what you were saying. I'm not going over to David's home to sell him anything, okay? I told you that I'm going to help you have success, and I've had some success with this system. I am going to show David what we are doing for a couple of different reasons. Number one, you got to learn this presentation, and if he'd help you change a flat tire in the rain, he'll definitely listen to me talk to him for a couple of minutes. Would you agree with that? Yes. Okay, good. Secondly, Jay, my job is to teach you how to be successful. We both agree, Jay, that you've never done a business like this before. You work on computers. I know you're a great family man, probably a very successful pastor, but you've never done this before, and I have a proven track record. I'm going to ask you, Jay, to just be coachable and give me the benefit of the doubt. Can you do that?
Yes, sir.
And from there, I'm going to get those commitments because, guys, the reason we need to see every single person that an individual knows is there's a bunch of different reasons. Number one, nobody's got all their finances figured out. Let me be very clear here. And the ones who got a good idea what they need to be doing, they've become the best clients. Why? Because we have the best thing going on. Right. You understand that? I've met with people that say, well, I got this, this, and this. Okay, well, you don't have Primerica term. You might have term, but you don't have Primerica term. You're not guaranteed insurable. You got a 20-year term and we got a 35-year term. So you don't know all those things. Or maybe somebody does invest in mutual funds, but they don't have the right information. So, guys, what I'm trying to tell you, number one, is nobody has it all figured out, okay? Number two, even if they have a good plan or they don't need our services, we're going to see them for referrals. We want them to know. I want David Hamilton to know that Jay is in the insurance business and the investments business. And what happens there is down the road, you get people bring up insurance, they bring up investments, and they think of Jay and David because they have seen a presentation like this, right? When I go into a presentation with David and Jay's sitting there watching, not only is Jay going to get a little bit better and learn questions and verbiage he needs to hear, he is going to develop a relationship with David. I'm going to do such a good job going, and Jay is Primerica in David's eyes. See, it's much bigger than just going to do an appointment. It's much bigger than asking for help, right? And it's part of the process. So Dave, listen, it's very bad. I am not spending a ton of time with someone who is not a client that I'm training. Okay, I'm going to be very clear about that. And I'm not being ugly. You do not have to buy insurance to work with Primerica, but there is no way that you're going to sit across the kitchen table from me, okay, and you have a family, you have kids, and you're trying to sell something, and you don't even own that product, and you need it, okay? What am I trying to say here? Let's just say I'm sitting down in front of David. I'm training David, okay, and Jay and Melissa are – Jay, can you unmute real quick? Jay and Melissa are the people that I'm meeting with. And I say, Jay, let me ask you something. Do you own life insurance, Jay?
I do not.
You do not. Well, let me ask you this. You're married, you have these boys here, they're young, you have a job. Do you believe that life insurance is important?
Yeah, I think it is.
Think it is? Well, let me just explain. If you passed away right now, your income would be gone, and Melissa would have to pay all the bills without your income. Do you think that would hurt her financially?
It would. It would.
Okay. It would. You're right. And let me ask you this, Jay. If we could put together a plan that was very low cost, fits your budget, but also gave you the peace of mind knowing that if you died, your income would be replaced so she could continue to raise these boys and pay off your debt. Would you at least take a look at that?
Yeah, but I definitely don't want to buy anything, but I will take a look at it.
That's all we're asking, Jay. I appreciate that very much. Now, David's in the same situation. David set up a training appointment with Jay and Melissa. It's obvious that Jay needs insurance. What if Jay right now asks David, because I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to get back over there. If Jay and Melissa have a job and they have an income and the need that they have, I'm going to sell Jay a policy. I can promise you that. He's acting all big and bad right now, but Jay's going to buy a policy from me. Melissa will put him in a headlock real quick if he said no to me, okay? Now, but let's just say, for an example, that Jay and Melissa asked David, okay, I'm getting ready to present a policy to them. David has kids, has a wife. Let's say I asked David, or Jay asked David, said, man, I'm excited about getting this life insurance, man. I've been needing it. I never thought about it. David, how much insurance did you get? And David says, well, I haven't gotten any insurance yet. Now, how do you think that's going to go? Excuse me?
So I haven't gotten any insurance yet.
Yeah, exactly. Jay's going to say, you know what, I'm going to wait too. I think I'm going to wait. What David's really saying to Jay and myself is, I don't think it's important either. I'm trying to sell something I don't own, or I'm trying to sell something I don't believe in. Now, that's what I'm trying to say. Now, I'm not sitting there saying that an 18-year-old needs $1 million insurance policy. Please don't mistake that. What I am saying is, whenever I sit down with Jay and Melissa, yes, we're going to talk about a warm market. We're going to talk about a wedding list, but I'm going to say, Jay, listen, the first thing I do when I work with somebody, other than the orientation, is I make sure that they have the correct plan in place. We agreed that life insurance is important. Jay, do you currently have life insurance? And Jay tells me no. The first thing we need to do is get you and Melissa protected, number one, because you don't have it and you need it. Number two, you're going to be working with me selling this stuff. You obviously wouldn't want to sell something you don't own. Is that correct?
You're right. You're absolutely right.
And from there, guys, I mean, that's ultimately what it is. So what I would say is, if you're working with Primerica and you're working to build your business, you have to identify where you are at with these products and services. Again, I'm not saying go buy every single thing. What I'm saying is practice what you preach. So David, can you piggyback off of that? Anything that you would add or anything that I left off?
Absolutely, Coach. That's kind of how I got in this business. I was a client. Actually, this is my second time being in Primerica. I was in Primerica in 2010. And when I came back in this business, so many people was trying to recruit me. And I was like, man, I'm good. I ain't got no time for Primerica, man. I'm good on that, I'm not trying to sell nothing, but I do need a policy. So I ended up getting the policy before I ended up becoming an agent, right? And when I became an agent, I've always been like this. If it's something that we offer, and I've been in so many other things, right? I'm not going to name no names, but I've been in so much other stuff. And I'm like, there's no way I can sell this if I don't have this, right? I don't care what it is. So first off, if you're going to build a financial home, there is no way that you as an agent cannot start with the foundation. And that is the income protection, right? You say you want to make a lot of money in Primerica, but you don't have the income protection. That's crazy. That means you don't really want to make a lot of money, right? And but needless to say, some people come in, they probably can't get covered or whatever. Now I'm gonna hit that issue, right? Because let's hypothetically say you have done it and you can't get covered. Well, guess what? Immediately you want to say, you know what? Well, let me start something. Let me set up an investment of, even if it's $25, $40 a month, right? Let me start something, because if you're gonna pay it in life insurance, why not do it in an investment? You was going to pay it anyway. Why not go in and say, you know what? I do have what we have. Even if you didn't get covered, you still believe in it. You tried to get it. Whatever the situation was, you still was putting yourself in the position to say, you know what? I have what we have. But if you have no products of Primerica, because you got declined, that's crazy, because there's other options. And you're showing, the client, hey, even though you might get declined, I still can provide other options for you by setting up an investment. So I was like, I want to do it myself so I can know how it works for other people. If I don't do it myself, I don't know how it works with other people. How I'm going to look at a Primerica policy and I haven't even looked at any of them. And I'm a client. That's crazy, right? So that's just some things I think we should do, take advantage of all our products, right? If possible. So.
No, great job, David. And we're going to wrap up here. I appreciate your feedback, and I appreciate all y'all. We had over 40 on at one point. This is a wonderful Saturday training. Next Saturday, we're going to be in the Alexandria office. We will have some lunch provided, and we're going to have also, we're doing the competition that's going on right now. I know that every recruit is over. David and Keisha have quite a bit of recruits going in. Every recruit is a pull for cash. It's $1,000 pull for cash. The minimum is $40 for the Alexandria office. We are going to do the opportunity meeting again next month. We are going to do the winner's dinner again next month. So that's what's going on. Also, they're opening up the new competition. If you have not seen on POL, the scoring for Baja Mar for the trips, definitely go on there and please do that. I think it's a new competition. They'll add slots. There's plenty of opportunity to get back in the mix of that. So last thing I'll say, guys, is we have 3 weeks left in the month. I know a lot of people have gotten off to a very fast start. I know that some people are kind of at a slower start, but don't think that the month is anywhere near over. I mean, we got plenty of time. We got plenty of new talent. And with these trainings that we're doing, implement what's going on. If it were me and I was trying to get my business moving, I'm going to call Jay McKinney and say, how do you close so much business every week? I'm going to call Clinton. I'm going to call David and find out, how did y'all get those recruits yesterday? Just trying to learn from the great leaders. I could keep going. Seth DeVille's closed 4 days in a row. I mean, there's so many examples of people winning, but there's also examples of people just not currently putting in the work. And to that, I would say you're better than that. If you're not putting in the work right now, I believe, and we all believe, that you're better than that. You just have to get excited about going for it again and then start calling these people that are having success. I'm incredibly proud of where we're at. We're nowhere near where we should be, but we're on the way. Again, great job, and I appreciate your leadership. Jay McKinney, thank you so much for getting and setting this up. You're always there when we need your help, my friend, so we appreciate it. Y'all have a great rest of your weekend. I am on the road. If you need me, just give me a call. Thank y'all. Love y'all.